1481, 1482. This was the year first this letter was written by one of the famous scholars, artist, that is Leonardo da Vinci. You must be surprised, what letter did he write? Yes, today we're going to talk about resume. Hi, my name is Dujoy. Well friends, as I told you, Leonardo da Vinci wrote the first resume. It was actually written in a letter form, but however, resume means summary in French. So, resume is a word derived from the French language. Most of us pronounce it as resume. Resume is a different meaning altogether, which most of you know by now. That is to restart or to start. Alright? To start something which was stopped is called as resume. Now, we are talking about resume. So, what is resume all about? In today's lesson, we'll be talking about resume in detail, but however, we have different topics on resume itself which will be covered in this module. So, about the introduction of resume. As I told you, it's a summary. It's a place where you write your complete information. However, limited information where people can read and understand who you are when it comes to your education, when it comes to your profession, when it comes to your talent and your intrapersonal skills. It is like a catalog, or it is like a sheet of features written very clearly in a piece of paper. Well, you might ask me a question. When I'm writing a resume, should I write it in a letter form or should I put it as pointer? Well, letter format is something that we do not really advocate people to write because most of the HRs and most of the people who are giving you a job do not have time to go through this. So then, what is that you'll have to write? What is that you shouldn't be writing? Well, should I write my personal details or shouldn't I write my personal details? Should I write only about my job? Should I write anything about my education? Should I write about my project report? All these questions would be there in your mind. So, we'll be talking about what are the segments that is required as we progress in the class. So first and foremost, we will be talking today about how to write your name and the first column of resume, what should be there. First and foremost, is it mandate to write the word resume on resume? It is not important to write it. It is not advised. But however, if you feel comfortable only writing that, there is nothing stopping you. It's okay to write the word resume on resume. And next, after writing a resume, the next most important aspect, otherwise next most important item on resume is your name. So when you're writing your name, it is always better, to write either in the center of the resume, the sheet A4 size sheet, or towards the right hand side. So you might have a question, why right hand side, why can't I write it on left? Well, the human tendency, otherwise the human psychology says that we always have a tendency to first look at the right hand side. And that is why if you have ever read newspapers, on towards the right hand side, whatever the advertisements are given, it is highly priced when compared to what is on the left hand side of the sheet. And most important topics come towards the right hand side. So we have understood the psychology. It is always better to write your name on the right hand side of the resume. Well, should I write my address? Yes. So which address should I write? You can write the address where people can communicate with you. However, these days it's not important to have an address because you can just write your email or you can give your phone number, people would reach out to you. But as a process, it's always better to write the address where you reside. This actually helps the person who's reading your resume to decide whether to call you or not to call you for the job. If the job requires a person from that local area, then it is always mandate your address specifies that you stay in this place. So what if you are not staying in the place where your family resides? You're not living there, but then you are living or staying in another place. So that is the address, that is temporary address, or the address for communication should be written there. So when you write there, be very specific on your door number, the building number, otherwise building name, and the area, the location, and very important, that is the PIN code. Do not forget to type in the PIN code in that particular place. So now this is over. And now, what is the font size for writing your address? It can be the least number that you can choose. It can be anywhere between 10 and 12 when you're writing your address. But however, your name can be anywhere between 14 and 16 font size. Now, there might be a question, Jojoy, which font should I use? Which font should I use? For that, the answer would be, it is always better to use Arial or Verdana or Calibri, where the letters are typed very neat. It is not very funky, but it looks very formal. Do not use cursive and other chiller or any other font because it looks very unprofessional. Am I clear on this? So see to that you use this, and as I reminded you, otherwise as I told you, first and foremost, it should be your name. Your name can be on the right hand side or in the center. And now when you're writing your name in the center, see to that your address is written in one line only. That is, when you have your name written in the center of the paper, like what you see here, see to that your address is in one line. If you are going to have your name towards the right hand side of the paper, see to that you have your address also just below, and it is written in a very stipulated place. It is not completely taken, that is, you don't write it in one line. It can be in 3-4 lines, which is towards the right hand side. Right? So, should you have your email ID on your resume? Obviously, with your address, your email ID is most important. Why? That's the best way that we communicate now. So have your email IDs. If you do not have an email ID which is little decent, when I say decent, it could be like some of us, right? You know, loveforjojoy@gmail.com, crazyboy@gmail.com. So all this is something which looks unprofessional. So when you are writing your email, otherwise create an email which sounds more professional. It could be your name and combination of some numbers. It could be your date of birth. So anything on that sort should be something which we have to take into consideration. All right. So if you do not have a very nice email ID, which does not have your name, then go ahead and change your email ID. All right. So in this capsule, otherwise in this lesson, I have spoken to you about the first part of your resume, how your resume should look. All right. We'll be talking in detail about the next part in the next capsule, otherwise next lesson. Till then, it's bye-bye from Jojoy.